Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today's video is, I think it's going to be a longer one. I've spent this week recording all of the kids' school lunches and showing you how I assemble their bento boxes. If you want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments down below, or if you have any other video ideas for me. But let's get into this week's school lunches. So first of all, I have this little recipe book that I've compiled all of the lunch recipes that I've tried and tested for the kids. Today's recipe is pizza. Start off with 350 grams of plain flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, and 170 ml of water. This is obviously a yeast-free pizza base. You can use yeast if you want to get a bit more creative. Basically what I'm going to do here, and you're going to see me do it in a minute, is just add a little bit more water because my dough is a little bit too crumbly. So I'm going over to the sink and wetting my hands every now and then just to try and get all of that dry ingredient incorporated into the pizza dough. If it's too crumbly, you want to add more water, and if it's too wet, you want to add more flour. Now I'm going to just set that aside in some cling wrap for about 20 to 30 minutes just to let it all settle in before I roll it out onto a floured clean surface, obviously a clean surface, with my rolling pin. I'm making plenty of pizza bases here, and then what I'm going to do is with the remaining pizza bases that I have, I'm going to pop them in the freezer for next week so that I don't have to make the pizza bases every single week. This gives me a workout, I'm not going to lie to you. It's difficult to get it nice and flat, but I managed to get there. This is the little tray that the pizza goes into in the kids' bento boxes. So I cut out the bases to make sure that they're going to fit into that little box there, and then I just check that it fits, and that's how I cut out my bases, and that's why they're that shape, just so that once I've made the pizzas they can fit nicely into that little container. This seems like a lot of effort, but like I said, I prepare a bunch in advance, and it's actually a super easy meal to make them once I've got the bases ready and in the freezer, because then I just have to pull them out of the freezer and just put whatever toppings I like on and then put them in the oven. So it's very handy, and I love just keeping a bunch of these in the freezer. So as you can see, I've just popped them in this little container here with a piece of baking paper in between each base, and then I'm just going to pop that in the freezer for next week. And then for the fun part, putting all of the toppings on. If you've seen a previous video, I made homemade hidden veggie pizza sauce. This is not that. This is just the pizza sauce that you can buy from like Coles or Woolworths, but you can use hidden veggie sauce if you want, just to give it a little bit of added nutrients. The good thing about pizzas is that you can change the toppings depending on each child, because not every kid likes the same thing. You'll see here in a minute that one of these pizzas is not going to have cheese on it, which might seem strange, but that's because one of my kids does not like cheese, and one of them does not like pineapple, so one of them didn't have pineapple on it either. And then I'm just going to pop those in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes. This is my lunches little board here, so the kids know what to expect at school for lunch. However, we did not follow it this week because we had a bunch of public holidays, which I did not account for when I meal planned for this, so I kind of just winged it. Throughout the week, I was just making whatever I had on hand for the lunches. I also like to wash and chop up all my fruit on the day that I get my grocery delivery, just so that it's all handy in these containers for me, because it's less effort when I'm packing their lunch boxes. Having to chop up fruit every single day to put into the lunch boxes is just a lot of effort. So I do it once I get my grocery deliveries, I chop them all up, put them into containers, and then it's easier for them to snack on throughout the week as well. They can just grab some fruit, like some grapes or some pineapple out of the fridge, or some pre-cut watermelon, or whatever fruit I've chopped up for that week. This just helps encourage the kids to have fruit as a snack rather than the pre-packaged foods like chips and things like that are in our pantry. And here I'm spooning some vanilla yogurt into these 3 containers. Only 3 of the kids like yogurt, so only 3 of the kids get yogurt, but they do love this yogurt here, and it's so much cheaper to buy a big tub rather than buy the little individual tubs. So I love that I can just buy a big tub and put some yogurt into little containers for them. Here I'm just going to grab out some homemade muffins that I make every single week. I make apple muffins and banana muffins, although this week I did not make apple muffins because of all of the public holidays. It threw me off. I wasn't on my game this week, but it's okay. We have homemade banana muffins, which also have sugar-free or dark chocolate choc chips in them. I change it up every week. I think this week was dark chocolate chips. The kids love these, and they freeze really well, so I can just take them out of the freezer and put them in their lunch boxes the night before, and they defrost in the fridge overnight. Each day the kids get one little square of snacks, so it's either veggie straws, grain waves, or pretzels, or popcorn, or something like that. And today I chose to do veggie straws. The kids love the veggie straws, and honestly I do too. They're really yum. Now here I'm just going to make one sandwich each, and then I'm going to use my cute little sandwich cutter here to cut the shape out on each sandwich. Later on in the video I show a bunch of different shapes that I have, but I really like the love heart one because they fit really nicely in the little sandwich container down the bottom. I put sandwiches underneath the main meal that I choose for the day because just in case they don't feel like eating whatever they have on for that day, they've got something that they can rely on down the bottom that they definitely like, which is generally a ham sandwich or a Vegemite sandwich or a sandwich of some kind. Once the pizza is ready and completely cooled, obviously you can see I'm using my hands here because they've been sitting out for about 15 minutes cooling down on the bench. I like to chop them up in half and then put them in their little lunch boxes. You can cut them up more or you can leave them whole. I used to just leave them whole, but I found that since I've started cutting them in half, they've been eating more of it, which is, I don't know why. I don't question it. I just do what I'm told. This is my little box of bento picks and just little goodies, and so I'm going to just make sure that everybody that has yogurt has got a spoon so that they can eat the yogurt, and then I can go ahead and add little picks to the fruit so that they don't have to get their fingers dirty. They can use the cute little animal picks to eat anything that they like in their lunchbox really, but mostly I pop it onto the fruit. So this is the finished lunch boxes for day one. Let me tell you, when I first saw, I think it was a TikTok video that got me onto these bento boxes, I fixated on it for weeks and procrastinated and then was just like, you know what, I'm doing it. And then I just bought all the stuff and now I'm bento box mum. I never thought it could be me, but here we are. My youngest is in prep, so she has fruit snacks still, and this day she had a banana. I absolutely love doing these bento boxes, but my least favorite part is the cleaning process. Every single day when the kids come home from school, I do have to wash their bento boxes and all of the little bits and pieces that come with it. It is the worst part, but I do absolutely love packing these bento boxes, so in my opinion, it's worth it. It really helps me get creative with what I put in their lunch boxes and also limits how many prepackaged foods I'm buying and packing into their lunch boxes as well. That's not to say that there's no prepackaged foods in their lunch boxes, because there is, but it just helps me put more fresh fruits and just like fresh ingredients. Today's meal is meatballs and rice. I just buy these meatballs from Aldi. You can make meatballs from scratch if you like, but I like the convenience of these. Just buy them from Aldi and then cook them up in the pan on a low to medium setting. Now I'm going to wash my rice. This is sushi rice, which just means it's a little bit stickier so that I can put it into a mold later on. I wash it until the water runs clear, and then I use a ratio of 1 to 2. So I think I used 1.5 cups of rice, and so I put 3 cups of water in. And then what I do is just bring it to a boil, and then as soon as it's at a boil, I turn it right down and just let it cook until there's no liquid left. Today's little snack is grain waves. As you can see, I've just pulled them out of the cupboard there. I love grain waves, they're so good. The kids love them too. And today I've chosen for the fruit section, I'm just putting apples. I know that I have fresh fruit cut up in the fridge, but the kids love apples, so about once a week I like to put some apples in there for them. And they like a variety of red and green, so I kind of mix and match in each lunchbox too, which I think is pretty cool that they get to have a little bit of both. Then I'm just going to check on my meatballs and my rice. I do put a tea towel over the top just so that they don't spill over. And then here are my little homemade muesli bars. I don't think I've done a recipe on these before on my channel, but I make these from scratch as well. And the kids, well, 2 of the kids absolutely love them. My oldest and my youngest really likes the muesli bars. And here I'm just showing you how well the little love heart shapes fit into the sandwich container. I really, really like them. They're so cute. And yes, this is the mum tax. This is where the spare bread goes. This is my cute little rice mold. I really, really love this. It's super cute. Basically, now that my rice is cooked, look, you probably should wait till it cools down. I don't do that because I'm impatient, I don't know, but here we go. I'm putting boiling hot rice into this. I do recommend letting it cool down first, but what I'm going to do is just pop it into this mold, and then it's a cute little triangle. I love it so much. I'm obsessed. Now my favorite part, my cute little bag of goodies, my bento box goodies. I love to serve the rice with soy sauce because I personally love soy sauce on rice. So I just have these little tiny soy sauce containers that hold soy sauce and the little squeeze bottle that goes with it. The kids love these, and when I first got them, they used to fight over who got which sauce container. I think the novelty has worn off now, and it just is a part of their life. They're just used to having these little containers and the little bento boxes, because I've been doing it for probably about 8 months now. And then I've just got this little sauce bottle too, and here is a little prepackaged Messy Monkeys burger rings, because Talia doesn't have yogurt in her bento box, so she always has a spare slot, and I always am lost for what to put there. But this is the finished product of the meatballs and the rice, and each kid has their own little sauce as well. And of course each kid gets a cute little pick for their meatballs as well, just so that it's fun to eat. And as always, my youngest has fruit snacks, so today she gets grapes and strawberries. I really like this container because it separates the top from the bottom, and so I can put grapes in the bottom and strawberries in the top. Day 3 is sausages and potato. I really enjoy this recipe because it's super easy. It's so like fuss free. It's not messy. I just chop all of the potatoes up into these tiny little pieces, add olive oil to the bowl, and then season with this roast vegetable blend. I really like this roast vegetable blend. Every time I make roast veggies, this is what I use, and it's delicious. So I just pop those in the oven at 220 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes. And then I'm just going to cook up my tiny little sausages. You could use big sausages and just cut them up if you can't find these little sausages, but I get these from Woolworths. So I'm just going to cook up those sausages, and then once the potatoes are done, I will take them out of the oven. This was one of the days where I wasn't working, so I could make their meal during the day while the kids were at school instead of having to cook it while they're home in the afternoon. So I just let them cool down and then put them into this container and put it into the fridge like this, so that when they get home from school, I can just put them straight into the bento boxes, and they're already cold, they're already made. It just makes it so much easier at the end of the day to be able to just have it readily available rather than have to get the kids home, clean the lunch boxes, and then go ahead and do more cooking for the lunches. I already have it cooked throughout the day. So now I'm just going to assemble my bento boxes like I did in the previous days. I'm just adding some cut up fruit, and as always, the yogurt, because it's a go-to every single day. Those 3 kids will just eat it without fail. They always eat the yogurt. They love it. Just making sure that each yogurt kid, that's what I'm calling them from now on, each yogurt kid gets a spoon. And here is the finished product. One of the children, you might notice, has their sandwich cut up different in a different slot, and that is because I put her sandwich there, and then underneath she has some roasted seaweed, which she loves, so hers is a little bit different because she doesn't like yogurt. And as always, once I finish the bento boxes, I go ahead and do the youngest fruit snack, and today she is having watermelon. And as always, I get a mum tax, and this was the best mum tax. I absolutely love watermelon. And this is my favorite little giraffe pic. It's adorable. So this day is going to look a little bit different because I do only have the one child for this week. I filmed this video over a 2-week period. We have a bit of a Brady Bunch situation with custody schedules in our house. So one week we've got 4 kids, and then the next week we have 1 kid. So today's bento box is just the one bento box, and we're having sausage rolls today. This is another one that I make ahead of time and freeze. It has extra hidden veggies in there, so it's got carrot and zucchini. So I cook those up ahead of time and then pop them in the freezer so that I can just cook them the day before they have them for lunch. So now I'm just going to put a little container of hummus and some carrots in the youngest bento box. And as you can see over there on a plate, there is some apple and some watermelon, because earlier on in the day we had all 4 kids and I did up a little platter for them, like a little fruit platter. And this is the leftover fruit that didn't get eaten on the platter. So instead of letting it go to waste, I'm going to use that in Evie's bento box for her lunch for tomorrow. So I'm just going to chop everything up and assemble it all together while the sausage rolls are in the oven cooking, and use this cute little bunny pic. Oh my gosh, I love the pics. They're my absolute favorites. And I'm going to make a little sandwich for her as well. And I know for my non-Australian viewers, you're probably going to be mortified, but it is a Vegemite sandwich. All of my kids love Vegemite. If you try Vegemite and you don't like it, in my opinion, you're not doing it right. But here are all of the little cutouts that I told you I was going to show you earlier on. I bought these sandwich cutters on Amazon with a bunch of the cute little bento box accessories and the picks and things like that, so I will link that down below for you if you're interested. And then I'm just going to add some tomato sauce into the bento box for her sausage rolls so she has some sauce. Once your sausage rolls are finished, take them out of the oven, and always with the bento boxes, you have to let everything cool down before you put them in their bento box. Otherwise, when you close the lid, it fogs up and causes condensation. So I let these sit there for about 20 minutes until they were completely cooled. 20 minutes to half an hour, I think I let them sit there, so that when I close the lid, it's not going to cause condensation in the fridge overnight. The fifth and final day is sushi. This is both my least and most favorite meal because it is fun to make this meal. However, it is very, very messy. Only 2 of my kids like sushi, so when I make sushi, when I have all 4 kids, only 2 of them are going to get the sushi, and then the other 2 get an extra sandwich. I'm just going to brush a little bit of olive oil onto the sushi part there, just so that the rice doesn't stick to it. And then I'm just going to drain my tuna with this little drainer thing here because I don't like getting tuna juice on my hands. I'm just going to flip that over and drain it and shake it out like that. Now that my rice is finished cooking in the little rice cooker that I got from Kmart, super cute, I'm going to go ahead and make my sushi rice recipe. So this is just 1/4 cup of rice wine vinegar, half a tablespoon of vegetable oil, 1 tablespoon of sugar. I usually put half a tablespoon of sugar and then half a teaspoon of salt. Just add that to a little pot. You're just cooking it to dissolve the sugar, and then you just add that to your rice and stir it till it's all combined. Now I'm going to add my tuna and some Kewpie mayo to a little bowl and stir it around just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. You've probably already figured it out, but I'm making tuna and avocado sushi today. This is the girls' favorite sushi. They absolutely love tuna and avocado sushi. I'm just going to add the cooked rice. Look, you really should wait until the rice has cooled down, but I have not done that because, like I said, I'm impatient. Do as I say, not as I do. Wait until your rice is cooled down, and then add it to this little contraption and use the pole to create an indent into the rice to put your ingredients. I'm just going to push the rice down there, and it's going to create a little well in the center of the rice. And then you can add whatever ingredients you like. But like I said, today I'm adding avocado and tuna. Once you've added your ingredients and you're happy with them, take this little screw bit and line it up with the little screw holes on the end, close it, and then clip it closed. And then I always overshot this. I need to go further over towards the camera, but I always go too far. See how it's overhanging off the edge? It's fine. I cleaned it up. I ate the leftovers. But now I'm just going to roll it up into the sushi like this. And what I'm going to do is cut the sushi to fit perfectly into the bento box, which gives me even more to do. I get quite full cooking the kids' lunches because I eat all of the scraps and the leftovers. I'm not going to lie to you. This was also a day that I didn't have work, so it's a meal that I prepped while Evie was at school, so I could make it ahead of time, put it in this little container and put it in the fridge so that when she gets home I can clean her bento box and pack it full of sushi. She always eats all of her sushi. This is probably her favorite lunch. Once Evie gets home and I've cleaned her bento box, I'm going to just now pack it with the sushi and the rest of the food that I'm going to put in there. I do think I probably put too much food in Evie's lunchbox because she is obviously only 5 years old and she generally has a little bit left over when she comes home, but that's okay. I'd rather have too much than not enough and have her go hungry. So the sushi just sits there like that, and what I'm going to do is just add some little veggie straws on the edge with some mum tacks there just to keep the sushi in place and not moving, like rolling around in her lunchbox. Today she's got pretzels, green apple slices, the banana muffin and the yogurt, and then like I said, a little ham sandwich underneath there. And then for her fruit snack today, she's getting grapes and strawberries again. Okay guys, that was my school lunch video. I hope you guys loved it. Like I said, if you do want to see more content like this, please let me know down below. Press subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!